In efforts to address the pressing issue of climate change, South Africa's Council for Geoscience is leading a pioneering effort in carbon culture, utilisation and storage. Now, the scientific intervention aims to mitigate carbon emissions while facilitating a just transition away from coal dependency. With stakeholder consultations underway in Mpumalanga, the project signals a crucial step towards sustainable energy solutions in the region and beyond. Let's get more insight on this with the CEO of the SA Council of Geosciences, Mosa Mabuza. A very good morning to you. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika, and thank you for your time. The obvious reality, I suppose, is that climate change has become an urgent agenda item, not only in South Africa, but of course globally. What we do know is that South Africa is now keen, and has been for quite some while, in playing a leading role in finding lasting solutions, the Council being committed to finding these solutions. What have your findings uncovered?
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to the viewers. The research is a subject of work in progress. It is a partnership between the South African government and the World Bank, and the Council for Geoscience is the implementing agency for this partnership. What we have found so far is that there are 3 possible reservoirs as a minimum that can be used for sequestration of CO2, both on and offshore. And based on the preliminary atlas that we published in 2014, we estimated that the capacity of one reservoir for storage is about 150 gigatons. Now we are updating that atlas with the 2 other reservoir prospects that our geology has. So we are a truly blessed country geologically. Ours comes second to none in the world. So when this project started, it was led by our sister organization, SANEDI, and the site that was identified for piloting was in the northern KZN. And we were brought in to lead the project about 3.5 years ago. And when we did the assessment, we realized that for the piloting purposes, we need to identify a site that is much closer to the major emissions, in particular in Mpumalanga. So the Mpumalanga people have been wonderful. They've ceded a piece of land of 25 hectares for these research purposes. We are finalizing the geological characterization, and so far, we have determined that in this small site, the capacity for storage is 5 million tons. You would have seen earlier in the week that the Minister of Finance increased the carbon tax from 159 rand a ton to 190 rand a ton. Of course, the fiscal instruments change behavior, and we are very hopeful that with this intervention of carbon tax modification on the upward, increasingly those who participate in the massive carbon emissions would be coming forward to be part of this scientific intervention to find a solution. We believe, based on the science so far, that the possibilities of sequestration are indeed real.
Yeah. In leading this project and really just pinning your hopes on something groundbreaking, perhaps give us a breakdown of the processes that will follow and what you overall aim to achieve.
So this CCS carbon capture and sequestration is not a new phenomenon at all. So we have looked at what other countries have done. In particular, Norway has a very successful case study of implementing CCUS for the past 27 years. To date, in these 27 years, they have injected 27 million tons of CO2 and CO2 equivalent on the geologically characterized basin offshore in the marine. We are looking also at what other nations have done, and there's not a shortage of those. So what we are finding is that there is indeed a very high possibility for us to be able to remove the excess CO2 from our atmosphere, find possibilities of using it for other economic activities. For instance, CO2 of right quality is used in food preservations, it's used in your sparkling water, it's used in your fizzy drinks, and it's used for fertilizer manufacturing, as well as other chemical industries. So we are saying, instead of capturing the CO2 and dumping it underground, let's first explore if it can indeed be used in catalyzing other economic activities. If that is a possibility, then the bulk of the CO2 that is captured will then be used to invoke and catalyze other economic activities. That would be a fantastic win for South Africa. Now, where we come in with this research is then to make sure that we characterize this geology. And what we mean by that, in simple terms, is that we look at a set of rocks and whether these formations would be able to store the CO2 safely, so that we don't solve today's problem and then create future problems. So the confidence is beyond 90% now with the work that we have done in Leandra, that the geological formations are correct, yeah, and they are ready for this storage. That's the first part. The second part is the capture technology. The traditional capture technology has been hugely expensive, but we are leveraging technological disruptions that are happening in the world. We have come across a number of technology developers who, for instance, have developed things such as the carbon trees. So you plant these trees and they passively absorb the CO2 from the atmosphere. Now, we are going through a phase of testing the efficacy of absorbing the CO2 passively from the atmosphere. And those are significantly cost effective. If we crack that, then I think South Africa would have led in the carbon capture technology. And ideally, simple, we are saying that if we can transition from high carbon to low carbon economy with coal, that will be the best solution for this country.
Yeah.
Because I want to believe that climate change is not a fight against coal, it is a fight against CO2 in the atmosphere that increases the temperature and the pace of climate change.
Perhaps now, let's expand a little bit, if you'll allow me, just to talk a little bit more about coal. We know the economic impact of coal across South Africa is one that cannot be underestimated. Close to 250,000 workers are employed in that industry. How will they be incorporated in the efforts of transition? And as we look at the urgency of that transition away from coal?
So, I mean, what I was saying before your intervention was that the ideal end state of this research is not to transition away from coal, it's to transition with coal. Mm-hmm. Because the transition is not necessarily about coal. The transition is about reducing the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. So if this research can prove let me outline what the end state that we envisage is. We envisage that the research will enable South Africa to use clean technology and clean coal technology. So is it possible, what we are investigating is it possible to use coal and continue to use coal and transition from high CO2 to low CO2 economy? If the answer to that research is yes, which we will have in the next 18 months to 2 years, if the answer to that question is yes, then we have solved the problem. Then the socio-economic problems that you have just elegantly captured are no longer a subject matter, because we can continue to mine, we can continue to burn the coal, and we can continue to reduce the CO2 in our contribution of CO2 in the atmosphere. And as a country, we would have honored our commitment to the treaty that we signed up to as a member of the global economy or a community.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much. We're going to have to leave it there for now. CEO of the SA Council of Geosciences, Mosa Mabuza.